This is Plant-Based Briefing, From Sick, Disabled, and on Multiple Meds to Thriving on a Plant-Based Diet by Tim Kaufman at forksoverknives.com. And I'm Marian Erickson. This is the Plant-Based Podcast where I curate a variety of articles on plant-based and vegan living, get permission, and narrate them to you here in about 10 minutes or less every weekday. And I'm pleased to have permission from Forks Over Knives to share their content. So now let's get to today's Plant-Based Briefing. From Sick, Disabled, and on Multiple Meds to Thriving on a Plant-Based Diet by Tim Kaufman at forksoverknives.com. When I was 38 years old, my doctor told me I was on my way to an early death. He also threatened to hospitalize me if I didn't make an effort to improve my health. I walked out of the doctor's office in defeat, but I knew he wasn't exaggerating. My cholesterol and triglycerides were off the charts, literally. My blood pressure was 255 over 115. I weighed almost 400 pounds, but didn't know the exact number because my doctor's scale didn't go that high. I was on many prescription medications and struggled with addictions of all kinds. I was born with a genetic disorder called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which affects the joints, and the excess weight was too much for my already destroyed joints to handle. I had to use crutches and canes and had leg braces to keep my legs from buckling. I had trouble getting out of chairs, walking, and driving. The more I hurt, the more I medicated, and the more I medicated, the more I hurt. It was a vicious cycle that sucked all the joy out of life. I was committing a slow, drawn-out suicide. When I got the depressing news that I was incredibly sick and getting sicker, I was also going through a particularly stressful time in my life. My father and my mother-in-law, my wife's mother, were very ill with aggressive cancers, and my wife and I were having a hard time watching them suffer. When I went home that day, I looked at the pain already in my wife's eyes and realized that she would soon have to deal with more pain as a result of my choices and my inability to care for myself. Although I didn't care for myself much at that point, I decided that I needed to try for her. After some research and phone calls, I decided to get a gastric sleeve. I made the appointments and scheduled the pre-op tests, but I needed clearance from my primary care doctor. I thought this was just a formality. However, when my wife and I sat down with my doctor, he told me he would not sign off on the surgery for me. He told me that although he'd never before denied a patient's request for this procedure, he didn't think I was healthy enough for the surgery. He also thought my joints might become worse because of it. To put it mildly, I was enraged. I went home furious. I felt like my last hope had been destroyed. I don't know what came over me or how I even had it in me, but that night I grabbed a notebook. On the first page, I wrote down the next day's date and the words, "This is the first day of the rest of your life." Underneath that, I wrote, "Get up from chair 2 times." Then I got on my knees and prayed to God for strength. I wasn't asking for a miracle, just for enough strength to change one small thing a day. That was August of 2011. Starting a new chapter in my life. The next day, I started my new life, and every day after that, I added one small change. Sometimes it was just to walk up 4 extra stairs, but it was always a little more than I'd done before. I also started logging what I ate and slowly improved my diet. Small changes, many hours of research, and watching documentaries like Forks Over Knives, Engine 2 Kitchen Rescue, Vegucated, and Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead gave me a new perspective on food. I started eating a plant-based diet with vegetables, potatoes, whole grains, and fruit as my main fuel. I also started moving more. My first walk was 3/4 of a mile and not easy, but I kept walking. I even started to have fun. I started to bike. Then I bought a kayak. I started walking up hills. Hills turned into mountains. Once I started moving, I didn't want to stop. Since then, I've hiked on the Appalachian Trail, cycled 100-mile road races, and ran 5K, 10K, and half marathon races. Next month, I'm running a full marathon. The best part of all this is that my wife, who was my original inspiration, also changed her lifestyle and habits. We're having so much fun together and are enjoying our life now. We're like 2 kids. People always want to know how much weight I've lost. I've lost a ton, close to 200 pounds. I've also lost high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high blood sugar, crutches, and many prescription medications. I've gained long walks in the park with my wife, fun with my kids, adventurous travels with my family, and just a whole new outlook on life. Sometimes I don't even want to go to sleep because I don't want to miss anything. Lastly, I want to say thank you to Forks Over Knives for getting the message out there. I first saw the documentary on Netflix, and it had a huge impact on my eating habits and my family's as well. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. There is no doubt in my mind that my family would have already buried me if I hadn't switched to a plant-based diet. Update May 2025. 13 years on, Tim Kaufman and his wife are more committed to the lifestyle than ever before, and Tim continues to inspire others with his blog, Fat Man Rants, and 2 books, Fat Man's Essential 40 Plant-Based Recipes, Quick and Easy Plant-Based Food, and Escape, Breaking Free from a Self-Made Prison. Today, Kaufman writes, "Back then I wasn't trying to thrive, I was just trying to survive. I hoped I could hold off death for 1 more year. But what started as a desperate attempt to hang on has become a passionate way of living. I stay on this path not because I have to, but because I genuinely love the life it's given me, one filled with energy, purpose, and joy." Kaufman explains that at the beginning, healthy food was his main focus. Now he concentrates more on living fully and having a vibrant lifestyle filled with gratitude, joy, mental clarity, community, and spiritual growth. And to maintain that lifestyle, he needs to fuel himself with healthy, whole plant foods. The biggest lesson I've learned? Food is just the beginning. This lifestyle gave me back my health and mobility, but more importantly, it gave me purpose. You just listened to From Sick, Disabled, and on Multiple Meds to Thriving on a Plant-Based Diet by Tim Kaufman at forksoverknives.com. And I'm your host, Marian Erickson. And tune in tomorrow for an update. This original success story was published in 2016, and they just published an update from Tim with lessons that he's learned. So tune in tomorrow for that, and please share this episode with anyone who might benefit, and thanks for listening.